Star Network is here.
Hold no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Friday, January 23rd, 2026, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Minnesota is ground zero for protesters against Donald Trump's thugs with ICE. Thousands brave sub-zero temperatures to protest in a day of action against Donald Trump's immigration crackdown will show you what took place. Also, there's a new ICE policy that allows officers to enter homes without a warrant from a judge. Check this out, y'all. A Maine sheriff is criticizing ICE tactics for arresting a corrections recruit at the Cumberland County Jail as he was getting off of work in that state. Also, documents now show that the Trump administration deported a woman because she dared to say that students should be protesting on behalf of Palestine. Yes. Folks, also a major winter storm is expected to bring heavy snow and ice all across the country this weekend. Also, Opal Lee, known as the grandmother of Juneteenth, being honored with the Barbie doll as part of the Inspiring Women series. We'll also discuss how Ryan Coogler's film Sinners is making history with 16 Oscar nominations. Folks, it's time to bring the funk. Oh, one more thing. I got a few things to say about all of these attacks on Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett not being a viable candidate for the United States Senate. It's time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Folks, it was a massive day of protest today in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where thousands gathered outside the U.S. Bank Stadium amid sub-zero temperatures for a march against Donald Trump's immigration crackdown. Demonstrators shouted ICE out, waved American flags, and carried signs calling for ICE to leave their city and for the arrest of the ICE officer who fatally shot Renee Nicole Good on January 7th. The Trump administration has sent more than 3,000 federal immigration personnel to Minneapolis since December in what the administration has dubbed Operation Metro Surge, resulting in nonstop confrontations and clashes with residents. According to the Department of Homeland Security, over the past 6 weeks, officers have apprehended more than 3,000 undocumented immigrants. But how many of them actually are criminals? Now Trump and his minions are threatening America's Fourth Amendment rights by allowing ICE officers to forcefully enter homes using only administrative warrants, bypassing judicial approval. Legal experts warn that this policy would strip away critical safeguards and accountability, opening the door to government overreach. But the courts aren't going along quietly. In Minnesota, federal judges are rejecting arrest warrants for a number of people. Arrest warrants tied to anti-ICE protests, saying prosecutors failed to provide sufficient evidence. And now the concern is coming from inside law enforcement as well. A county sheriff in Maine is blasting ICE's actions, calling them Bush League policing, after agents literally detain a Cumberland County Jail corrections recruit who was legally authorized to work and had no criminal record. Watch this.
I'm a correctional officer. What's wrong? I don't have to fight out. Come on. Wait. I'm a correctional officer at work in Cumberland County. What's wrong? I'm just coming from war. What's wrong? I don't understand this. I don't have baby my life. Coming from war. My uniform is right there. No, I didn't explain to you, man. working with the government. What's the What's wrong? I don't have. I don't know what's. I'm responsible. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to subscribe. Oh my God.
He's got a job, so they can't have that. Can't have productive members of society.
Oh my God. Can you guys go?
Cumberland County Sheriff Kevin Joyce shared his outrage about this stop.
We've all seen the 3-minute video. And I've heard some people say, oh, it's hard to watch. What was hard is that there were 5 to 7 ICE agents there. In my world, my colleagues, we've arrested some dangerous people on the back roads of Cumberland County with 3 or less deputies. Yet, this was a show of force, a show of whatever they were trying to do with 7 people. What's even more disturbing is the comment made by the witness that videotaped this encounter, who said that in the 3 minutes they got out, they pulled a guy from the car, handcuffed him, put him in the car, they all took off, leaving his car with the windows down, the lights on, unsecure, and unoccupied. They left it right on the side of the street. Folks, that's Bush League policing. Again, in my world, you wait for a wrecker. You wait for somebody to come pick it up that the individual wants. Or you get permission to drive the vehicle into a public parking spot and you lock it up and you give the person their car keys. You don't leave their personal belongings unsecure along the streets of the city of Portland. It's not fair to the guy that owns the car. It's surely not fair to the Portland police.
Folks, the recruit was hired in February of 2000. First hired in February, and authorized. First, he was authorized to work in the U.S. through 2029. And to understand what these people are doing, they even at one point, a protester was filming them, and an ICE agent said, "We're now going to put you in a domestic terrorist database." Here's what people have to understand: these people are going after everyone, and they absolutely are being given full authority, full immunity, especially by Stephen Miller and others. And so this is what we have to understand that these people are engaged in. The actions that they are engaged in makes no sense whatsoever. And Donald Trump is allowing it. This is what these folks want to do. This is how they want to be engaged. And so we need to understand that the pushback is being severe. This is why Minneapolis is ground center. I want to bring in my panel, Michael Imhotep, host African History Network show from Detroit, Candace Kelly, legal analyst and host Not All Hood out of South Orange, New Jersey, Matt Manning, civil rights attorney out of Corpus Christi, Texas. Glad to have all 3 of you here. Candace, I want to start with you. These thugs do not care about the law, because the thug-in-chief doesn't care about the law. Stephen Miller doesn't care about the law. J.D. Vance doesn't care about the law. You got the head of ICE walking around in his long coat, just sitting here doing whatever the hell is it that he wants to do. And you have a federal judge in Illinois who said that dude lied repeatedly. So these folks are lying in court. They are lying to federal judges. They don't care because they know the corrupt thug sitting at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, 2 blocks this way from this studio, says, do what you want, I got you covered.
Do what you want without any due process, too, that is due to anybody that is on American soil. That is the rule. And people will ask me all the time, no, not if they are not here legally. Yes, yes, yes. If they are here illegally, there's still a process that is due to them. That's why we call it due process. And this is what we are seeing on the streets, that even if you are a corrections officer, This guy went through a polygraph test. He went through a background check. He went through all the questioning. He went through all the training. He even, during the time of training, went down to Texas, I believe, to try to get some things cleared up in terms of his status. He wanted to work alongside and be a part of the justice system. And even with that behind him, he still got picked up. And they didn't even give the corrections facility that he worked with the respect to tell them, look, we have one of yours. Left his car open, left it in dangerous situations, just disrespect across the board. This is the time where people have got to remember the rights that belong to them. You still have a right to remain silent. You still have a right to an attorney. You still have a right to due process. So the more you know the information about the law, the more empowered you become. Because it doesn't matter who you are. You could be a corrections officer. You could be a police officer. They might even make the mistake one day and arrest another ICE agent. It doesn't matter. You're going to get got because they had 1 year where they hired 12,000 people. There's no way that 12,000 ICE workers can actually be trained thoroughly and not make all the mistakes. And that's what we're seeing. We are seeing the fruit of those seeds that have been planted. And that's why we're seeing these mistakes. And this is just ridiculous. I mean, it is just ridiculous. And it's going to implode even more, Roland.
And a thing here that it's abundantly clear, Matt. These folks don't care about due process. And here's their argument. You had this Batya Unger Sargon, supposedly a progressive who now is MAGA. And I'm going to try to find the clip. This idiot was debating Bakari Sellos, who's an actual lawyer, and she's nothing more than an opinion columnist, saying that, oh, no, due process is only for American citizens. She's a liar.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, Candace hit the nail on the head. It is not only for American citizens. And, I mean, there's a due process that's due to you in the immigration courts. I mean, that's kind of one of the things they're trying to hide behind now, at least in a couple of the stories that have been reported over the time of the ICE increase in administrative, arrests and things, is that they've had a number of people who had already gone through a process and a judge had determined that they needed to be removed. That is part and parcel with the idea of having due process. And I think we may be talking about it a little bit later, but I think the thing that every American absolutely needs to be terrified about, literally afraid about, is that ICE has an internal policy memo saying that they can go into your house with an administrative warrant and not a judicial warrant. And let me explain why that is so terrifying. Because generally what you need is, at least in the federal system or on the comparable state system, you need a judge to determine that there is probable cause for law enforcement to make entry to your home to search it or to otherwise arrest you, right? But these administrative warrants are issued by people who work for the Department of Justice. And I know they're calling them immigration judges, right? But they really are Department of Justice employees, from my understanding. That means the fail-safe, which is a judge who's been appointed, who's gone through the approval process through Senate, the United States Senate, is determining that there's sufficient probable cause to arrest you, is how it normally works. But if ICE is able to go out and arrest people without this warrant, then what this means, without a judicially issued warrant, then what that means is that they can just have basically an insufficient legal basis upon which to claim we get to run into Matt Manning's house. Maybe we think he's harboring immigrants. Maybe we have some reason to believe someone that lives with him is not an immigrant, but we don't have to prove it in the way we normally do. And now we can just write up our own warrant. Basically, it's them issuing their own documents to go and grab people. And that is an evisceration of the Fourth Amendment, which in civil rights law is probably the most litigated amendment. It's the one most of the time that people are filing lawsuits behind. So, this arrest and many of the other arrests are obviously very problematic, but it is a bedrock watershed, fundamental evisceration of democracy issue if a judge is no longer the one determining whether there's probable cause, because that allows them to come into your house anytime that they want, and they don't have to answer to someone for doing so.
This is, before I go to Michael, this conversation. I just want to show y'all the sheer stupidity that these MAGA people are spouting all across mainstream news. Now, that crap wouldn't fly on this show. I wouldn't even let her get this crap out of her mouth for 10 seconds. But listen to this non-lawyer give her opinionated view about due process, and she's talking to an actual lawyer.
The people who, on the right in particular, who are typically concerned about things like, the government overreach, searches and seizures, et cetera, does it give you pause that they are expanding the view of what they can do to break into people's homes?
Well, first of all, it's not without a warrant. It's an administrative warrant. And what the memo actually says is if a judge has issued a final order of removal, meaning that this is an illegal who has gotten a lot of due process already and exhausted every single legal avenue to challenge their deportation.
I guess
on that front,
let me just pause you there because I just don't want people to be confused. The administrative warrant is not a warrant that a judge sees. Typically in the United States, in order for authorities to break into your home without your permission, they need a judge to see it and to say you can enter because you're looking for something and you're authorized to enter. Right, because citizens have
constitutional rights.
But that man, for example, that we just played the video of, he might have lived in that house, but that house also resided other American citizens. So again, where are the people on the right who are typically concerned about constitutional rights? Are you not at all worried
about constitutional rights for
that
American
they can just break into your home?
We have different standards of what due process is owed to an American citizen and what is owed to a non-citizen.
What about this scenario?
And we should all support that.
What about this scenario?
We should all want a higher level of due process and constitutional rights that are guaranteed to us as American citizens, not to illegals, because it's supposed to mean something to be an American.
Hold on.
But
there are a lot of problems with that. I mean, there are constitutional rights that, just basic constitutional rights that don't change based on whether you're a citizen or not.
but you're wrong, Batia, because
they have a right to due process, but that standard is much lower than what counts as due process.
You're wrong.
That's a different thing.
That is right.
No, the Fifth and 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution provide that everyone, even non-citizens, have a right to due process.
Yes, to due process, but the standard of due process for expelling an illegal is much lower than the standard that we would have if we were accused of a crime.
We are talking about entering one's domicile, one's abode.
They have a final order of deportation.
Batia, you cannot utilize military or law enforcement in the United States of America to enter one's home colloquially willy-nilly. You just simply cannot do that because of the fundamental guarantees we have under the United States Constitution.
Yes, that
and what
we
happens
have as American
That's an idiot, Michael. A pure idiot. And that was like a 2-minute and 45-second clip. And Abby I would have been like, I'm sorry, you're not a lawyer. So let me talk to the lawyers at the table. Can you please explain what the law is?
Yeah, so it's so much here. I'm going to try to keep this as succinct as possible. She's an idiot and a Trump grifter, okay? And to me, it's ironic. Now, I'm not sure if she's Jewish. It appears she was wearing the Jewish star, but it's like...
Yeah, she is.
Okay, because I remember mistreatment of Jews by Germans. And...
Oh, no. That doesn't matter, because that didn't happen on American soil. See, that happened in Germany. Didn't happen here.
Well, they were not
again, if I'm using her argument, Michael, we're not discussing that because that didn't happen in America. That happened in Germany, not here.
Okay. So let me go to my second point here. I know people here have an affinity for Abby Phillip, but according to her interview on the Breakfast Club, she's the one that chooses the guests on the show. So if that woman said a bunch of bullshit, then we need to blame Abby Phillip for that because she's the one that chose her. So now going to the heart of this, I know a few minutes ago, Roland, you said this does not make sense and things of this nature. Well, Roland, this makes perfect sense. Your book, White Fear, explained it. Your book, White Fear, predicted it. This is the fear of the browning of America. This is an all-out war on non-white people. And Donald Trump in 2024, when he was on the campaign trail, March or April 2024, he said he would give 100% immunity against for police against criminal prosecution for doing their job. And then, from my understanding, when it comes to the killing of Renee Good, there's no investigation from the Department of Justice. Okay, an investigation would normally go on for a number of weeks. There's no investigation, so they're like, "Hey, we're good." No pun intended. Now, I encourage people, and I've been talking about this at the African History Network, and some of the Black people or ADOS or whatever they want to call themselves disagree with me on this. But this is very similar. This reminds me of the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, and many ICE officers, maybe not all of them, but many of them are running around like modern day slave catchers. In fact, the LA Times has an excellent article called "Trump's Case for Sending Troops to Help ICE Involves Precedent from Fugitive Slave Act." And they're talking about the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, signed into law by President Millard Fillmore. And most of these Negroes never even heard of Millard Fillmore. And what happened was he sent U.S. troops along with U.S. Marshals to capture runaway slaves in the North, enforcing the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850. Well, you got in some of these states, you've got National Guard along with ICE and police, quote unquote, police from many different agencies violating people's rights. And one of the things that the Fugitive Slave Act did was the Fugitive Slave Act of 1793, you could have your day in court. A lot of people don't know this, but the one of 1850, you could not have a day in court to prove that you were free. Well, many cases here, right? They're not being able to have their day in court like they should. They're being snatched also outside of the court when they're trying to show up for their proper hearings and things of this nature. So this, unfortunately, this makes perfect sense. And we predicted this, Roland. This is all laid out in Project 2025.
Well, to watch these folks, to listen to the sheer nonsense that is streaming out of their mouths, it's crazy. And what they're doing is they are allowed to do all of this and with impunity. What you have here, is an administration that does not care. An administration that will complain about, how they are being treated, but don't care how anybody else is being treated. This is just who they are. And I think what people have to understand is we're going to see more of this. We're going to see more of their actions. We're going to see more of these type of things. And it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. And one of the folks that we have to blame for this, absolutely, is John Roberts. The Supreme Court. The Supreme Court basically said, say, Doc, you can do what you want to do. You can do what you want to do. And this fool has already said the only thing that can stop me is my own morality. And I'm telling you right now, November can't come soon enough, Matt, but November is not going to completely stop any of this. The only way to deal with this is that you're going to have to see mass demonstrations, not just in Minneapolis, not just in Portland. You're going to have to see more of these sheriffs and police chiefs coming out and saying, I'm sick of you thugs. And see, here's the deal. We already see in the polling data, we're seeing how the number has gone up. It used to be in the 40s. It's now up to 61%, the public against these actions. You even have you even have all of a sudden. Matter of fact, wasn't J.D. Vance talking about this, saying how they're going to have to change their tactics if it continues? And this is where I think the Renee Good murder has played a role, because so many people saw that and they said, you know what? I'm sorry, that ain't right. That ain't right. But that's the only thing that's going to stop this. It's going to have to be massive pressure by millions of Americans.
Can I say something real quick, Roland? I just want to add one thing to this that makes this even more terrifying. So a lot of local law enforcement work with the feds all the time on task forces. I'm sure talked about it on the show. And one of the times that what you see almost a cross deputization where they're able to serve a warrant, right? Like the feds serve a stateside warrant alongside state officers, and they draw their authority to serve that state warrant from the presence of the state officers. I say that to say, hopefully this goes before the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court does the right thing and makes, the ruling that this is not tantamount to a judicial warrant. But what you might start seeing in the meantime is the MAGA-aligned state officers who say, okay, that allows us to go in with our officers alongside this administrative warrant and just bulk up the number of people running into somebody's house to snatch them without judicial intervention. And I don't say that to be fear-mongering, but I really think that's the possible consequence of this. And it's really, a watershed moment. It's like your constitutional rights being taken before your eyes. So the only way this is going to stop, to your point, is if there's actually judicial intervention. And I happen to be talking to a prominent lawyer who works in this space just an hour ago. And his opinion was, some of the federal judges are already pushing back on this, are already pushing back on ICE overreach. But the problem with it is you got such a grab bag of federal judges, you just don't know, if depending on where you are, whether he or she is going to do the right thing. So they absolutely have to toe the line, because if they don't, it's going to be just all out chaos, and there will not be safety in your home.
I was telling you about J.D. Vance and his nonsense. And so just listen to this fool try to parse the language when it comes to these warrants.
The Washington Post reported today that an ICE memo allows agents to enter people's houses without a judge's warrant. What do you say to people who are concerned about this violating the Constitution, and how much is this tactic being used?
Yeah, so I saw that story, and the story is like so much that I read in the mainstream media. It's missing a whole lot of context, and when you appreciate the context, it makes sense. No one is saying, look, there are exceptions. For example, a crazy exception, if somebody is fired at from inside a house, they don't need a warrant to go inside that person's house. There are very narrow exceptions to the warrant requirement where law enforcement officers don't need a warrant if, for example, they're an imminent threat of their lives. But what we've said and what ICE has proposed, what the Department of Homeland Security really has proposed in the Department of Justice, is that we can get administrative warrants to enforce administrative immigration law. Now, it's possible, I guess, that the courts will say no, and of course, if the courts say no, we would follow that law, but nobody is talking about doing immigration enforcement without a warrant. We're talking about different types of warrants that exist in our system. Typically what happens, not always, but typically in the immigration system, those are handled by administrative law judges. So we're talking about getting warrants from those administrative law judges, and then of course, with other cases, you get judges, or you get warrants from a judge. That's very consistent with the practice of American law. I'm sure the courts will weigh in on that, but we're never going to enter somebody's house without some kind of a warrant, unless, of course, somebody's firing on an officer or they have to do something in order to protect themselves.
Boy, you lying. That boy lying. He know damn well he lying. And then I love this how they say that, oh no, we're not racially profiling. Y'all want to see somebody get embarrassed and fact-checked in real time? Watch this.
Accusations of racial profiling back to Washington. We'll certainly look into them as they come up. But this is not a group that's going around and looking for people who violated the law based on skin color. They're looking for people who violated the actual law, the law of our immigration system in this country. And so long as we had more cooperation, I think they could do these things in a much more targeted way. They would actually know where some of the bad guys are. I mean, again, you hear things that are hard to believe, but I've confirmed that they are true. Sex offenders who we're trying to get off the streets, who the local officials won't tell us their last known address. So then the local officials say, oh my God, these guys are doing widespread targeted enforcement operations, when in reality, we would love to just go to one house. The local officials won't tell us which one house to go to.
Mr. Vice President. Mr. Vice President, to that question, the local police chiefs have said their own off-duty officers, so police officers, are being targeted because they are a person of color and asked to show their papers. Is that a concern of the administration of the Department of Homeland Security if local law enforcement says their own officers are being targeted, and they described it as, quote, civil rights violations in our streets?
So I saw one story about this and one local police officer who said this. And look, certainly is it a concern? Absolutely. The first thing we have to figure out is whether it happened or not. And then if it happened, whether there is a good explanation or a bad explanation. And of course, if somebody violated the law, if somebody racially profiled, if somebody violated the rights of one of our fellow citizens, that is something we will take very seriously. What I also would say is that many of the most viral stories of the past couple of weeks have turned out to be, at best, partially true. So we want to try people based on reality, based on the truth, based on context. We're not going to prejudge people just because of a viral social media story that turned out to be half false.
J.D. Vance should never use the word truth, Candace, because these folks lie. I mean, they just lie. And then it goes, well, we got to see if that actually happened. Yeah, the sheriff said it happened. So, so it's like, oh, no, well, let's check the veracity of that sheriff. These people are insane. They're insane.
You know, and he talked about we're going to try these people and, you know, give them they're not trying people. That's the whole process. That's the whole problem. That's what we've been discussing since the beginning of the show, that they're not being tried in a way that makes sense at all. I think strategically what's happening, and Matt touched upon this, is that we're seeing all of the amendments. Let's think about all the amendments that we've talked about tonight. The 5th, 14th. We know that the 1st is in there. We've been talking about protests, for example. We've got these very important amendments, and little by little, just kind of in somebody's backyard, they're just hammering away at these amendments as opposed to, say, having a constitutional convention or going through the judicial system. They're trying what they can in order to really dismantle these amendments that are so important. The 4th Amendment, someone coming into my home at this time for no reason and no probable cause. And J.D. Vance, we know that if somebody is shooting a gun from inside of a house, of course that's probable cause. What is the probable cause for everybody else whose home you are going into? For everybody else who you're picking up off the street? What was the probable cause to pick up that correctional officer? You let him go. It makes no sense. They're untrained and they're causing havoc all over the country. And they're going to have to answer to this. There are going to be lawsuits. There are going to be questions that they have to answer because none of this is working. And we've been here for a while, Roland.
Yeah, and this is what happens when you only train people in 47 days. All right, gonna go to break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
On the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. Succession. We're hearing that word pop up a lot these days as our country continues to fracture and divide. But did you know that that idea, essentially a breaking up of the USA, has been part of the public debate since long before and long after the Civil War, right up to today? On our next show, you'll meet Richard Crichton, the author of this book, who says breaking up this great experiment called America might not be such a bad thing. That's on the next Black Table, right here on the Black Star Network.
I'm Ryan Wilson, CEO and co-founder of The Gathering Spot, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
All right. Hold on. Hold up. Wait a minute. Hold up. Wait a minute. I'm going to do a storm in a second. All right, folks, it's always a good time for the Crockett Chronicles. So y'all know how we do it. So let's roll the Crockett Chronicles. Oh, it was quite hilarious watching this House committee hearing when Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett ripped Republicans for their selective outrage when it comes to Donald Trump. And instead of disputing Donald Trump's guilt, his MAGA minions focused on attacking the January 6th prosecutor Jack Smith and questioning whether his investigation should have happened at all. Crockett reminded those who now defend the convict-in-chief of how they were running around, scared to death, hiding, cowering behind law enforcement as Trump's domestic terrorists took over the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021.
It's curious because you've sat here all day, and thank you so much for showing up, because this was something that you wanted to do. The Republicans wanted to make sure that you were hid in a room with no cameras, because I was there. They didn't really want you out public because they were afraid of what you would say, which is that you could have proven your case because you are a career prosecutor who knows how to prosecute criminals. So just to be clear, today, it seems like the Republicans have not really fought very much about whether or not Trump was guilty or not. In fact, their fight seems to be over whether or not you were authorized to prove their guilt. Do you recall a number of Republican members asking about whether or not your appointment was okay, even though we know that you've testified about the more than 100-year precedent that allowed for your appointment?
I was asked questions about that today, and our position, as we filed in our appeal, is that there was strong support for my appointment, including Supreme Court precedent directly on point.
Thank you so much. Additionally, you know, everybody's been all gingerly here today, but I don't know why we're acting surprised that a man who had close to 90 allegations out of 4 different jurisdictions and ultimately ended up with 34 convictions after a jury was able to hear all the evidence would possibly be committing a criminal act on January 6th. In fact, considering the fact that we are now under the impression that he is violating people's due process rights, he is ignoring court orders, he's starting wars without congressional authority in contradiction to the Constitution. He's enriching himself to the tune of over $1.4 billion. He's shaking down electeds to draw maps that will help him stay in power because the Republicans don't understand that they swore an oath to the Constitution and that we are supposed to do checks and balances. He's also shaking down TV stations to get money. So why are we trying to pretend as if it is out of the realm for this particular man to commit the crime that he committed on January 6th, and frankly, the only reason he ran for president was to make sure that he would not be prosecuted, because I fully believe that you would have put him under the jail based on our long-form conversation that we had. But according to your special counsel report on page 137, it states the department's view that the Constitution prohibits the continued indictment and prosecution of a president is categorical and does not turn on the gravity of the crimes charged, the strength of the government's proof, or the merits of the prosecution. And that, quote, but for Mr. Trump's election and imminent return to the presidency, the office assessed that the admissible evidence was sufficient to obtain and sustain a conviction at trial. In other words, Donald Trump ran for president, like I said, so he wouldn't have to spend the rest of his life in prison. The chairman and other members of this committee have spent all day attacking you and trying to rewrite the history of January 6th. But Mr. Jim Jordan, the chairman, failed to mention how he was running around the Capitol terrified by the possibility that all those insurrectionists would harm him. In fact, on page 97 of the deposition transcript, you mentioned how Mark Meadows, the president's chief of staff, quote unquote, never saw Jim Jordan so scared. The chairman also failed to mention that he was in direct contact with the White House in the days leading up to and on January 6th, which is why his toll records were subpoenaed by your office. Let me be clear, because they're trying to act like this is Democrats on Republicans, and I guess you are a covert Democrat that knew that he was going to try to steal an election before he tried to steal that election, and so therefore you were somehow put into place. I mean, the conspiracy theories make your head spin, but nevertheless, Were you going to subpoena the toll records of every single Republican simply because they were a Republican?
No, we subpoenaed the toll records in the course of this investigation because they were relevant to our investigation.
Relevant. Oh, okay. All right. So that means something about facts. So let's talk about facts. Donald Trump lost to Joe Biden, yes or no?
That's correct.
Okay. In fact, 60 federal and state courts have found that there was no evidence of election fraud. Trump's own attorney general and vice president knew that he lost the election, but he still tried to steal the election by pressuring state officials, designing fake elector plans, nearly having Mike Pence hanged, and ultimately demanding that his supporters, quote, fight like hell, correct?
Correct.
We all saw it happen once they reached We all saw what happened once they reached the U.S. Capitol. As your report outlines, President Trump knew that he would incite violence at the Capitol that day. In fact, some of Trump's senior advisors were pushing for violence. For example, page 81 of the report details how co-conspirators number 2, John Eastman, tried to convince Mike Pence to break the law, stating that, quote, violence was necessary. So it isn't just Trump who is responsible for the death of multiple law enforcement officers and the injuries of thousands of people. A lot of Republican members of Congress are also responsible. 147 Republicans voted to overturn the 2020 election results, including multiple members currently serving on this committee, and I will yield.
See, this is why you have to outline these facts, and I'm going to transition to this because it's very interesting, and what we're seeing with this U.S. Senate race in Texas that involves Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, and Texas State Representative James Tallarico. It's been quite hilarious and shameful to watch these attacks on Congresswoman Crockett about a U.S. Senate race in Texas. Yet when you look at where the attacks on her are coming from, it's amazing how they keep emanating out of Washington, D.C. and New York City. It's quite interesting. And it's quite interesting to watch how so many white progressives are literally on record as saying that, oh, no, we can't support this black woman running for United States Senate because in order for us to win, we're going to have to run a white male moderate. And I find that to be interesting. And what I will say this right now to many of those white progressives. Let me be clear. You're playing a very dangerous game. See, if you're making the argument that Crockett doesn't have the policies, that's one thing. For you to literally suggest that, she's too black, you might want to watch that. And the reason this is interesting is because I saw a lot of this after she announced she was running. And there was somebody who was on Threads, and they were going on and on and on. And you can always tell the people who don't know a damn thing, who literally don't know jack about the state of Texas. And so I'm sitting here, and so this one person was going on and on and on. And I decided to just sit here and do a look back. And I began to go back and look at all of these races. And I took it all the way back, y'all, to 1988. And you know what's interesting? I saw, and it was just amazing to me. Matter of fact, let me just see if this is going to show up, if this is going to properly show up on the screen. It may not show up. But this is what I pulled together. I'm just going to read it. I said, for all of you who believe that a black woman cannot run for U.S. Senate in Texas, and it should be a white or Latino candidate, This, matter of fact, hold up. I can't do this here. Give me 1 second. So I'm going to download this chart. And then I just want to show y'all. And see, this is what happens when you got a brain and you know how to research and you don't fall for the okie doke, because what it then happens is you are smart enough to understand what's going on. And so I went back and I said, let me find all of the people who ran in Texas. Now, Lloyd Benson was this is 1988. Lloyd Benson, Henry, you can go to my iPad. This is from Bloomberg. This is all Texas U.S. Senate races from 1988 to 2018. And so you see here in 1988, Senator Lloyd Benson was the last Democrat to win a U.S. Senate race. Senator Lloyd Benson, that same year, he was the vice presidential candidate. He wins 59-40. But you go to 1990, Democrat Hugh Palmer, white, male, runs against Republican Senator Phil Gramm, loses 60-37. We go to 1993. Bob Cougler had been appointed to the seat. He runs against Kay Bailey Hutchison. Bob Cougler, white, male, loses 67-33. Go to 1994, Richard Fisher, very rich white man, runs against Senator Kay Bailey Hutchison, gets his ass whooped 61-38. In 1996, Victor Morales decides to run, Latino against Phil Gramm, loses 55-44. In 2000, white man, Gene Kelly, runs against Senator Kay Bailey Hutchison, Republican, loses 65-32. 2002, former Dallas Mayor Ron Kirk, black male, runs against Senator John Cornyn, loses 55-43. 2006, Barbara Ann Radnofsky, white woman, runs against Senator Kay Bailey Hutchison, loses 62-36. 2008, Rick Noriega, Latino, loses to Senator John Cornyn, 55-43. 2012, Ted Cruz, Paul Sadler, white man, loses to Ted Cruz, 56-41%. 2014, David Alamil. Y'all, I literally do not know who the hell that is. And I am from Texas. I don't even remember this race, but it's all good. Lebanese, he loses 62-34. 2018, Beto O'Rourke, white man, loses to Senator Ted Cruz, 51-48. Then, of course, you had the race last year, the race of former congressman, well, then congressman, out of Texas, out of Dallas area, ran against Ted Cruz. He lost by 10 points. Okay, Colin Allred. If I think back to the 2020 U.S. Senate race, let me see, that was John Cornyn. 2020 Texas U.S. Senate race. Let's see here. Race. Cornyn wins. Let me see. Who did he beat? Let's see. Oh, he beat M.J. Hager. Democrat who was in the Texas legislature, white woman. He beat her by 8 points. Why? So let's see. So since 1988, we've seen white male Democrats lose by massive margins. We have seen, matter of fact, if we just look at this here, my God, the closest race Victor Morales, Latino, 11 points. Ron Kirk was 12 points. Rick Noriega was 12 points. Let's see here. Beto O'Rourke was 2.5 points. And then Colin Allred was 10 points. Okay. So actually, if you look at the results, outside of Beto O'Rourke, white men have gotten crushed by Republicans. I'm just looking at the data. White women crushed. So I'm confused. Tellerico is Latino. So this notion that, oh my God, Crockett has no chance. Back to my, so can y'all somehow show me how the data suggests, based upon the history since 1988, that there is a perfect candidate who somehow can win? No. In fact, if I actually look at the numbers, it was a white woman who lost by 8 points to Cornyn in 2020. It was Beto lost by 2.5 points. Colin Allred lost by 10 points. So actually the people who got closest, you got Beto, a white male, you got Allred and a white woman. So explain to me again why somehow a very popular, highly rated black woman just has no shot. So y'all just got to understand what these people are placing. And so when you begin to see these white progressives on social media put these things out there, you now got to ask, who's driving this? Where is it coming from? Why are these people in D.C., New York so afraid of Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett? Anybody ever thought about that? See, so Matt, I spend a lot of time when I'm seeing various comments. In fact, there was some guys, y'all may have seen this on the Young Turks. One guy who was like, oh yeah, I'm a white guy, and you know, I'm gonna support the white candidate. Okay, so just show me how that's worked since 1988.
Well, first, I chuckled when you mentioned about Alamil, because my thought was literally exactly the same. I was like, who is that? I don't remember that person at all. And I voted in most of those elections. But I think, you know, this speaks to really a larger issue. And I think your point is very well made about what hasn't worked phenotypically, i.e. white men and white women. But the bigger issue is that in Texas, people just believe that Texas is always going to go red. There's just this belief here that Democrats are not going to be able to make any inroads. And what happens every year, you know, rinse and repeat, every time a cycle comes up, is people get excited about a candidate and they think they're the heir apparent. And then they start to concede, oh, well, it's going to be hard out in West Texas. It's going to be hard out here. Texas doesn't vote Democrat statewide. And then the party, one, pulls up lame, and two, defaults, to your point, to whomever they think is going to get crossover vote. But here's the thing. I mean, James Tallarico, I think, is actually a very, very good candidate. I have nothing bad to say about Tallarico. I like him. But I don't think that has worked, right? Like the idea that a Beto or James Tallarico is going to be the panacea to bring over people from the Republican Party is just not going to work. What's going to have to work, which you've said on this show and which my father tells me every time we talk politics, shout out to my pops, is more people have to actually go vote. In Texas, if people came out and voted, it would be a blue state. I think that's what the numbers very clearly show. But the Texas Democratic Party always does this, always pulls up lame, and it always feels it has to default toward whomever they think is the prototype. And hopefully this is the race where they don't do that. But I do think the bigger thing is they're just going to have to energize people to vote, because whether it's Congresswoman Crockett or Tallarico, neither of them is going to get across the finish line if Texas Democrats concede defeat before the fight actually comes. And that's just what we see every cycle, every time. It's always this concession. Oh, we're not going to win statewide, no matter how energized we are with the party. And clearly, in 2018, we came very close. I mean, that was a 3 percentage point race. I didn't even remember that it was that close. So there's obviously a possibility to get there, but I think we shoot ourselves in the foot before we start the race.
Yeah, and it's just nonsensical to me for them that the argument, Candace, is that, oh my God, that And first of all, it's a nonsensical argument to say, oh my God, there's no way we can run a black progressive woman and win when you ain't won since 1988. So let's just go there. Two, it's also dumb because these people act like, and I'm just going to be very clear, if the incumbent John Cornyn loses to that nutcase corrupt Attorney General Ken Paxton, it still ain't going to be a cakewalk for Democrats. This idea is that, oh my God, she's destroying our chances to win Texas. That is literally stupid. It's just stupid. Republicans are going to vote. Ken Paxton is a corrupt Attorney General who should have been impeached, but Republicans got bought off by billionaires in Texas, and the man beat impeachment. So ain't no cakewalk to running. And here's the other thing, Candace. In my research, they were all mad at Jasmine Crockett for jumping in the race. I could not find a single time since 1988 where a Democrat ran in the primary unopposed. So guess what? Tellerico's name ID is lower than Crockett's. So fact is, you actually need Crockett and Tellerico running against each other in the primary, so they're campaigning across the state, so their name ID increases after the March 3rd primary, leading to the general. You don't want them running unopposed. That's just how stupid these people are.
And you know, the truth is, when we talk about strategy, in terms of her even being in the race and what people know about her, you have to, the fact that we are talking about her and that everyone else is too, means that somebody is scared, right? That's what we know for sure. But strategically, she does have to be in the race, like you said, for the name recognition, especially when we talk about the primaries. Besides that, though, if nobody was talking about her, if they thought she was going to lose, that would be a problem too. I mean, the fact that they're talking of her about any disruption is a problem in and of itself, because why is there such a problem with her running? I mean, period, at all. There should, you know, everybody has the right to run. She followed all the rules. What is the issue? I think that all of the talk about her means that a lot of people are wondering, is this woman really going to win? And I think that she is. I mean, like you said, it's not going to be a cakewalk,
right? But
it is something that people are paying attention to. Why? Because she is a threat. If no one was saying her name on any given Monday through Sunday, that would also be a problem. So I think that it's better that we are in this position right now and talking about her, even in this particular context.
Michael, Senator John Cornyn made this comment here. You're going to love this here. I think Tellerico is dangerous. He'll probably beat Jasmine Crockett, and he's capable of raising a lot of money. And if you look at the head-to-head with Paxton, it's tied. Actually, the head-to-head with Paxton, actually, I think it's tied with Crockett. But here's what's so crazy here. This is called rope-a-dope. This is called the rope-a-dope method. Okay, so oh yeah, let's pump up Tellerico because the data actually shows she's stronger than him. But here's the thing: it doesn't matter. Here's what Democrats in Texas are going to understand, and white progressives are going to shut up. Here's what you need: you're going to need a massive turnout in Texas for Tellerico or Crockett to win. And so white progressives, the one thing you don't want to do is shit on the black woman, because black people are the largest, black voters in Texas are the largest group of black voters in the country. So you're going to need massive black turnout in Harris County, in Dallas County, and others. So I'm just saying they may want to like pump their brakes and just tout your candidate, whether Tellerico or Crockett, and move on. But the attacks are stupid because it could backfire.
Yeah, they could backfire, but Roland, this is the fear of highly intelligent, highly accomplished black women. We saw this with Kamala Harris, the fear of Kamala Harris. We talked about a number of times on this show, hit pieces from the Washington Post. hit segments from MSNBC attacking Kamala Harris. I'm talking about long before she jumped into the 2024 presidential race. We see these attacks trying to undermine Jasmine Crockett. We see John Cornyn, who fears running against Jasmine Crockett. She has higher name ID than him, so he wants to run against Tallarico. So he's trying to pump him up, just like you said. And I have to ask these white progressives, if that's the label that you want to call yourself, what the hell are you progressing towards? Because you make no sense whatsoever. We have to really ask, what are you progressing towards? But this is more of the search for the great white hope. That's what this is.
And here's my argument, and it's real simple. If he beats you in the primary, he goes to the general. That's the whole point.
Right.
But to say that somehow the white guy, we got to have the white guy to run and win, that's so stupid. I got to stop you there. I got to go right now. Massive ice storm, folks, and snow is going to be hitting the country, significant parts of the country this weekend. Paul Goodlow with the Weather Channel joins us right now. Glad to have him on the show as he, of course, still sulks with his Longhorns. Paul, walk us through.
Oh, man. Come on.
Yeah, I took a shot. But the good thing is he's an alpha, so it's all good. So, Paul, okay, I've heard, like, this is go to my iPad. This is a map right here. That massive cold, ice, snow. People were talking about it was going to be hitting from North Texas all the way up almost to the top of the country. Where do we stand right now? How significant is this storm that's on the way?
Roland, I'm gonna forgive you because you went to that farm school there. You can't help it. But moving back to the better topic here, it's beginning right now in parts of Texas and Oklahoma where you have some snow. The concern is later tonight we'll start seeing some freezing rain mixing in, and freezing rain is basically when you have just enough warm air aloft where it melts that snow into liquid, and as it falls to the ground is at or below freezing. So things like roads or trees or power lines, sidewalks are below freezing. So that liquid hits and then freezes as solid ice. And that's something you cannot drive on, you can't walk on. And it's one thing if it's 32, 31, 30, but some of these temperatures are getting at or below 20 degrees. And then your normal rock salt doesn't work well when you get below 20 degrees. So that's not just going to be a problem across parts of Texas and Oklahoma. It pushes eastward into Arkansas tonight, northern Mississippi, then into Tennessee, parts of Kentucky, parts of Alabama, Georgia, but really concerned with Arkansas. They could see heavy sleet and ice. And then we started getting on towards the Carolinas, the Mid-Atlantic, Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland. I'm in D.C. for the storm, where we're going to be riding that line of sleet and freezing rain. We're under a winter storm warning. We could see even ice storm warnings being popped up across parts of the Mid-South into the Mid-Atlantic as well. The Northeast, New York, Philly, Boston, they could see maybe a foot or even a foot and a half of snow. They're going to see a lot more deeper cold air, so not as much freezing rain, not as much sleet. Again, sleet is nothing but ice pellets. So we'll take sleet. We'll even take snow. It's that freezing rain that could be a big player. And Roland, when this storm comes through Mid-Atlantic and northward on through Baltimore, Philly, New York, Boston, our temperatures won't get above freezing till sometime next weekend. So a good 7 days of temperatures below freezing. That ice is not going to go anywhere. That snow is not going to go anywhere. And it could set the stage for more wintry weather next weekend. But I don't want to talk about that because we're not even through, and we haven't even started this initial event across the majority of the almost 2,000 miles this storm is going to be moving. So we're talking more than a dozen states are on alert for this. Here in D.C., they've been pre-treating the roads. But again, as long as people stay off the roads, they can deal with it. There's lots of stuff to talk about, and watch, download some shows. You got football on Sunday. But the main thing is this is going to be a storm here at Sunday. That is something you just don't want to deal with. If you have a choice, stay home. In fact, I know probably millions of kids will either be virtually learning on Monday or just have a snow day. I mean, back in our day, Roland, we had snow days. There were days where there was no school. But now, thanks to all the internet and virtual learning, snow days have just gone online. So that's like the worst case for the kids. They can't even enjoy the snow. And this type of weather is meant for kids to sit there and enjoy, not for us adults to kind of go out on the roads and have to deal with this, because that's going to be a huge concern for travelers and airline travel. Oh my goodness, they'll be lucky to have flights in the air on Sunday in the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast with all the snow coming down, and maybe some flights late Monday. But you can push your travel plans. Tuesday would be the day to go.
Well, I had to remind people there was some dude, he would post, he was like, oh, it's laughable watching these Texans, how they just responding, buying all this food out, being a guy from Montana. And I was like, yeah, just like we laugh at your ass when it comes to heat waves. I mean, so it's like, dude, it's like, understand the reality is different parts of the country, you prepare differently. In Texas, and I travel a lot, you have very few overpasses here in Washington, here in the D.C. area. It's very few. And what people don't understand is when you got an overpass, when you've got a massive freeway that's essentially suspended in air and there's no ground, that's just a floating popsicle. And so that coal goes under, it goes over, and that overpass bridge is gonna freeze totally different than a bridge that actually is covering land. That's one of the reasons why we always say in places like Texas, Atlanta, Georgia, other places, keep your ass at home, because your state is conditioned differently than a Chicago where, hell, they like, please, 5-6 inches? Oh, we going to school, we going to the mall. It's just a different standard.
Right, because a couple of years ago, Atlanta had their version of Snowmageddon based on 2 inches of snow, but it came in with a flash freeze. You mentioned bridges and overpasses. There's an extra layer of air under there that can cool down the entire surface of the bridge. So even in the South, you see signs that say bridges and overpasses freeze first before the road, because they have more cool air underneath that to do that. And it is so true, depending on where it is. 2 inches of snow in Atlanta is considered criteria for a winter storm warning. Now, 2 inches in Chicago, hey, maybe an advisory, but it's not a huge concern. So hey, everything is relative.
I lived there 6 years. Ain't no advisory in Chicago with 2 inches. They like, you bring your ass to work, right. You coming to work, you going to school, we going, like, that ain't nothing to Chicago. But that's different, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee. It's just different.
Right, but snow is one thing, Roland, but this thing has the potential to bring paralyzing ice. And that's even a bigger concern for the South. The North, yeah, it's a concern everywhere, but it's treating that. So the simple rock salt, sodium chloride, it's pretty effective to temperatures to about 20, maybe even low 20s. But then you have to switch to magnesium chloride when you get below 20, which is more expensive. So these southern states aren't going to stock up on an expensive kind of road treatment that they might use once every 5 or 6 years. It's just not fiscally sound for these southern states and DOTs to do that. And then here in the northern states, they use some type of beet juice and other types of brine, because they do this all the time. So they have the infrastructure, they know where to get it, they know how to make it, and they know how to treat this. But those southern states, it's going to be challenging, especially with the temperatures not really getting above freezing. Fortunately, where we could also have ice storms, say in Arkansas, they can see temperatures above freezing by Wednesday, which still is a long time to have ice. And imagine if you can't get up a road to put up a power line that is feeding to a subdivision. That's a huge concern. But at least those temperatures will be warming above freezing for some hours of the day come midweek. But other areas here, say north of DC and northward, might not get above freezing, maybe not even next weekend. So we're talking maybe a week or so below freezing. So this is a big concern, especially if you lose power and you cannot heat your home. So, you want to get your supplies, you want to have alternate ways to staying warm or other places to go to, people who might have generators, and basically prepare for this, especially across the southern states, like you would for a hurricane. You didn't have any landfalling hurricanes this past tropical season, fortunately. So all those supplies that hopefully you had stockpiled for the summer months, now you can use now as this winter storm is just getting going?
It's real simple. Keep your ass at home. Listen, stock up, food, water. Keep your ass at home. There's no need for you.
Listen to the. I don't say this often, but listen to the Aggie this time.
Well, actually, the reason you also should listen to the Aggie, because for the state of Texas, the Texas Division of Emergency Management, go to my iPad. It's located at Texas A&M, so it's not anywhere else. So just so you understand, all you haters, those of you who went to that little school in Austin, and those of you whose parents went to that school in Austin, but you went to Howard, Matt. Just remember, when you get, guess what? You need, in moments like this, you need that farm school. And by the way, your little Bevo is actually cared for at an Aggie's ranch outside of Austin. All right, we'll be watching. So, Paul, you said they got you here in the DMV?
Yes, snow should start sometime between, say, 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. tomorrow, and not going to stop until probably the early morning hours of Monday. So
8
yeah,
p.m.
I got to hunker down.
All right, so if you need to come by the house with some gumbo, just let me know.
Okay, I will. I'll hold you to that, Roland.
All right, I appreciate it, Brad. Thanks a lot. Gig 'em.
All right.
Yeah.
Hook 'em.
Yeah, no, saw horns off. Saw horns off. There you go, saw horns off. That's right, saw horns off. That's for you too, Matt. All right, thanks a bunch. Now let's go to a break. We come back, we're going to chat with Nikki Fried, who chairs the Florida Democratic Party. And there's lots of other stuff we got to talk about. Plus, we got headlines, Black Star Network headlines with Brittany Noble. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. If you want to contribute by joining, please do so via Cash App. Use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. Click the Cash App button to contribute. Also, checks and money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo's RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Be right back.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. Succession. We're hearing that word pop up a lot these days as our country continues to fracture and divide. But did you know that idea, essentially a breaking up of the USA, has been part of the public debate since long before and long after the Civil War, right up to today? On our next show, you'll meet Richard Crichton, the author of this book, who says breaking up this great experiment called America might not be such a bad thing. That's on the next Black Table, right here on the Black Star Network.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Bree Baker, and my good sis, Jameer Burley. We are just two millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's a time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
Hey, I'm T.D. Jakes, and you are watching the Black Star Network.
Folks, in Florida, black Democratic lawmakers call for the removal of the state's attorney general, who effectively declared that more than 80 state laws aimed at benefiting minority employees and businesses null and void. In a formal opinion released on, of course, the federal holiday of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., James Othmeyer said that the laws violate the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment, and his office won't enforce racially discriminatory laws. Nikki Fried, the chair of Florida's Democratic Party, joins us right now. Do we have, all right, Nikki's frozen? All right, cool. So y'all let me know when we have Nikki. And it goes to show you what Republicans are. But bottom line is, and this goes to what I keep telling y'all is the defund Black America. And I've been telling y'all this for a year. This is what Republicans are doing on the federal level, on the state level, on the county level, on the city level, school district level. They are targeting. This is what my book, White Fear, The Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Mind, is all about. Nikki, glad to have you here. And again, I have been yelling and screaming this. People understand that that Republicans, they are about advancing a white agenda, a white male agenda. And if you are black, if you're Latino, if you are a woman, they don't care. This is what they are all about, because they all are touting this, oh my God, we've been so hurt and injured because we white men have no shot at success in America.
I don't even know, Roland. I think it's even further than that. I think that they just truly believe that that is what their base is looking for these days. And so what the Attorney General did, not only eliminating, 80 of these civil rights laws that are on the books, but he doesn't have the power to do that. I mean, like, I went to law school. I'm a practicing attorney. And I don't know anywhere in law school that you learned where the Attorney General of the state just got to say what's constitutional and not constitutional. And the fact that he did this on MLK Day tells you everything you need to know about who these people are. And if you remember, Roland, I think I was on your show the last time that something happened on MLK Day where Ron DeSantis filed those illegal maps, taking away a black minority seat, Al Lawson seat. And we've been sitting and fighting about that ever since. And so they just believe that is what got Donald Trump elected. And this anger about, that the minorities are going to replace them. They're putting that now into action. And as you know, Florida has been the lab rats of 2025 for the last 8 years with Ron DeSantis here. And we've seen them just getting more bolder and bolder. First, it was kind of innuendo, racism, and now they just are not hiding it anymore.
The thing here, Nick, is this is what Republicans do. We saw the Attorney General in Texas do the same. The AG in Virginia do the same. So this notion that you get to decide what's law or what isn't what legal is crazy. I'm sorry, you just can't give your opinion and say, oh yeah, we're going to ignore that law. Sorry.
Right. Well, they did the same thing. He did the same thing on open carry that we had after the Bruin case out of New York. A group of more extreme right-winged challenged the open carry here in the state of Florida, and the Attorney General refused to protect the laws that were actually on the books, and so now Florida is an open carry state. And so I don't know why they believe that they've got this kind of power to the job of the Attorney General. I don't care what state you're in. It is the first lines of the Constitution when describing the roles of the Attorney General is to defend the laws on the book, not to give their opinion about the law is unconstitutional or not unconstitutional. That is the job of the judiciary, which right now is not necessarily doing their jobs either. And the fact is there's no pushback from the Republicans. They're getting away with this. And this is why the American people have to understand that our democracy is falling every single day, and that we as Americans have to come together and say enough is enough and build coalitions across our states and across our country that is going to stand up for the rule of law. So many people have fought for our civil rights here in our state and our country and have bled and been arrested and beaten and moved so forward still have a lot more work to do, but they are taking us so far back that we're going to have to stand united again and fight for our rights.
Questions for my panel. Matt Manning. Matt, you're on mute, Matt.
Okay.
Matt.
Thought it was just me.
I'm here, Roland.
You damn Longhorn supporters don't know how to hit the doggone mute button. See? Do we need to do a diagram for you? What?
And this
Nikki,
gator
are you ready to continue with the important business?
Oh, I'm
Nikki,
waiting.
are you ready to continue with the important business? Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man. You didn't hear that Florida Gator said we beat y'all ass? And so, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You know.
I didn't hear that, but in any event, I'm focused on the task at hand, all right? Anyway, Nikki, I was just going to ask you, what has kind of been the response to this Attorney General saying he's not going to enforce the law? What I've seen in Texas and what you may have seen in Florida as well is one of the things they've tried to attack prosecutors on is their, decision not to enforce the law. So when you have the Attorney General saying, we're not enforcing laws because we think it basically supports black people too much, that's obviously talking out of both sides of your neck. What do you say to that, and how are y'all responding to the Attorney General saying he's not going to do his job?
Yeah, I mean, this is a problem because we've seen from, we saw the last couple of years with Ron DeSantis that he has removed attorney generals, state attorneys here in the state. Monique Worrell, dynamic black female out in Orange County that he removed for quote unquote not doing her job. And the same thing, another gentleman by the name of Andrew Warren, they removed him for quote unquote not willing to enforce the law. So the irony and the hypocrisy is just overwhelming. So this past week, our state Black caucus legislators, they're in the middle of legislative session, had a tremendous press conference this week. I do believe that there will be lawsuits that will be filed based on the decision on Monday. And it's just starting to really kind of hit people exactly what as you know, that media doesn't cover everything. In fact, didn't cover any of this. And so we're having to really educate the people across our state about this moment and this pattern of corruption and chaos that is coming out of Tallahassee. This guy is not even elected. He was appointed by Ron DeSantis after they moved Ashley Moody out to be the U.S. Senator, who is now just taken, every cue from both, first it was Ron DeSantis, and now it is Donald Trump. And so now we've got this guy here who is unelected, who is a 2-year-old, who has spent more of his time trying to harm the people of this state instead of protecting them, instead of fighting for them, for holding holding corporations accountable, going after consumers, insurance companies. I mean, we are just in such chaos here in our state with the overreaching and power grabbing from the executive branch. And unfortunately, our legislators our Republican legislators are not doing anything to hold these guys accountable, which is why we do believe that the pendulum is swinging here in Florida and people are waking up to this corruption and chaos.
Michael?
All right, Nikki Fried, thanks for coming on and sharing this with us. So I've been following this story. 2 quick questions. One, is there any type of legal action that can be taken from the Attorney General not enforcing 80 state laws that are already on the books, number one? Number two, what has been the response from African Americans there in Florida who see that these are policies that deal with supporting minority contracting, promoting diversity, et cetera, and will directly impact them? What have you heard any response from the African American community besides elected officials?
Yeah, so first of all, the reality is that if any of us had done this, we would be impeached, we would be sued. And so that is the things that we don't have the power to remove. We are in a super minority in both chambers, so we don't have that power here to actually impeach and remove the Attorney General. And so there will be lawsuits. I know that there's plenty of attorneys that are already looking into the lawsuits to be filed to make sure that enforce the fact that his job is to enforce the laws, not to make those decisions of what is constitutional and not constitutional. When it comes to, the rest of the Black community, is why we're coming onto the show, is because a lot of people don't know what's going on. There hasn't been a mass publication about this. It's just obviously happened on Monday. And so there's not been a widespread real information, and which is why we're trying to get this information out there, coming on here, having the press conference earlier this week in Tallahassee, is to make sure that we're getting the word out there that at the end of the day, we have to vote. Because if we don't vote and we don't organize and we don't get out there and don't understand that there is a huge difference between Democrats and Republicans. I am not asking anybody to love Democrats. What I'm asking people to see is, who do we want to be as an Americans, and who does we want the future of our state to look like? And that's when we build this coalition to start to dismantle the power grab and the hold that these Republicans have had over our state. And it's getting into these communities, making sure they're aware, and not just going anti, but look, let's build back power here in our state and then build a coalition where everybody has a seat at the table and that we're protecting these laws and we're protecting the people of our communities. And Roland knows this. After I was done being Commissioner of Agriculture, I was not intending to run for chair of this party. But the second that they filed a piece of legislation, House Bill 999, that attacked higher education, I was past student body president of the University of Florida, and I know that I would not be the person I am, the leader I am today, if it wasn't for the experiences that I got outside the classroom. And that's what got me off my couch to run for this position, knowing that we worked so hard to get us into a place where we are moving the ball forward on diversity and equality and inclusion. And now they are stripping all of that. It has now become a bad word in the state of Florida, have threatened funding at the local level, the university levels. And unfortunately, I mean, I still sit on the board of trustees for the University Law School, and I walk into those rooms and they say that all the endowment money is drying up because people want to give resources for specific programs, and now the universities can't take those resources.
Candace.
So out of these 80 laws that will potentially go away, which ones do you think people should know about that will have the most impact that they may not have even thought about?
You know, to be honest, I haven't dissected all 80 laws yet to see exactly which ones will or will not impact the most, but it's the totality of it. You know, it's the totality of making sure whether it's in the prison system or it's in, more importantly, in grants and access to small business loans inside of our state as well as inside of our local governments. So, to be honest, I have not dissected all 80 of these laws to see which one's going to be the most impactful. But the fact that it is a totality of 80 laws and it is the direction that the state has been taking for the last 6 years, making it more and more dangerous in our state. And it's on me. It is on me and the party to make sure that we're communicating to all parts of our state, that we're organizing, and then we're giving people hope that when you vote, that change can happen. It can't just be anti. It's got to be ways to say, this is what we're going to do to protect and to make sure that your cost of living goes down and making sure that you have equal opportunities for success in the state of Florida, and that is not the case right now.
Nikki, on that particular point, you saw a big win there in Miami, a mayoral race. You've got your primaries in August, general election in November, gubernatorial race this year. You got several people who are running, including former Republican David Jolly running as a Democrat. How has it been going with fundraising, with organizing and mobilizing? Folks have written off Florida. They're like, okay, it's just red, 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 but if you don't organize it, there's going to be a problem. So how has that been going? And answer that in my second question. Go ahead.
Okay. First of all, don't ever count Florida out. Don't ever count Florida out. Florida is worth fighting for, and that is what we are doing here. We launched last year what we're calling the Pendulum Project, which is a year-round statewide organizing model. Last year, we were able to be in contact with over 3 million voters in the state of Florida. We flipped around 7 of our down ballot races from city and county commission races. You saw the incredible Miami race. That was the first time in 30 years that a Democrat was elected to the city of Miami, the first female to have actually been elected. There's been a previous female who was, I think, the vice mayor who came up, the first black female, actually. And so we are seeing momentum everywhere we're going. We're seeing an overperformance in the state of Florida. And we saw overperformance across the entire country. But Florida overperformed the rest of the country by 7 points. There is something happening here in the state of Florida, whether it is the unaffordability crisis of our state that I consistently speak about, whether it's property insurance, property taxes, rent, electricity, after-school programs. They've liquidated our public educations and our public schools. And so there's just a lot that are going on that people are starting to wake up and say, this is not acceptable. We need people in office that are going to lower the cost of living, protect us. And of course, you have the corruption.
So Nikki's audio there, so let me know if we get it back, because I do want to ask her one question. So is she gone? Is she there? All right. So we got to connect back. So let me do this here. because I do want to ask you one more question. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson didn't hold back his thoughts on Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas when a reporter questioned the mayor about the city facing a lawsuit over its reparations task force. Ooh, this was lovely.
It's come to our attention that Judicial Watch is suing the city of Chicago over its reparations task force, saying that it's discriminatory by race, when you said that it wouldn't just benefit blacks, especially foundational black Americans. So the question is, doesn't deviation from the recently supported case law, I think the biggest one being, I think, in 2023 with two institutions of higher learning, where Clarence Thomas laid out a legislative package for that, make the program unnecessarily vulnerable to sabotage by the courts, race, status by race versus status by injured class?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not aware of anything that Clarence Thomas has ever done that has benefited black people. I'm just not aware.
Well, I just told you.
Yeah, well, I mean, you read something, but there's no evidence that anything that the justice has ever done on behalf of the interests of black people or even marginalized people in general.
Well, it's in his concurrent opinion, but anyway.
We got it. But as far as, any lawsuit against the city of Chicago as it relates to reparations, the whole point of reparations is to repair the harm that was done to black folks. That's what it's designed to do. As you might know, is that the Department of Justice, under the leadership of Donald Trump, is also suing the city of Chicago because of our efforts to right the wrongs of the past, particularly as it relates to descendants of slaves. So, look, they can't have it both ways, right? They can't, accuse the city of Chicago of focusing solely on black folks, while at the same time trying to make a claim that somehow we're doing the opposite of that.
All right, there. Oh, man. Way to go, Mayor Johnson. We got Nikki Fried back. Nikki, you were describing the initiative y'all launched where you're organizing year-round and not just during election season.
Yeah, and it's making a huge difference that we overperformed last year in the state of Florida more than the national average. And we're seeing red areas flip blue. Escambia County, for the first time since the 1980s, flew twice last year. And so we really are seeing this momentum everywhere in our state. We are talking about the unaffordability crisis, whether Florida right now is the #1 state in the nation for the ACA. And so we know that when people are starting to see that they can't afford their health care, we've got agriculture is suffering here in the state of Florida. So there's just a lot that is going on in this moment. We've got incredible candidates running up and down the ticket everywhere part of our state that is bringing real truth to power, that is talking to the voters, that is organizing on the ground. And so don't ever count Florida out, and you can't. We all know that 40% of the American population has moved to the South. And if we as Democrats ever believe that we're going to hold on to the White House or to majority in the House and to the Senate, we have to be investing in the South. That is Georgia. That is North Carolina. That is Texas. That is Louisiana. That is Alabama. This is where democracy falls, is in the South. And if we don't start as an institutional, activists and party, donors have to be getting resources down to the South. We are the front lines of all of the movement backwards, whether it is on Black history or it is the history of this country or, DEI programs. We are all suffering because of the lack of resources that have been put into the South for real programming on the ground. And so that's what we're doing. And that's really what we're seeing, the overperformance in all of our seats. Like I said, even the city of Miami was a 20-point switch move to the left. In Miami Beach, we had a 48-point switch move to the left. Overperformance in a county called Hernando, where we saw 36 points. So the programming on the ground is working. And so for those who are watching and want to see Florida continue to fight for everyday people that are living in our state, certainly go to floridadems.org. We are building back power here in our state, every community, every city, every county, all walks of life, because at this moment in time, we're building a coalition of Floridians that are ready to fight back with us.
Well, what you just laid out is what I have said constantly to folks that if you want to win, it can't just be during election season. It has to be just 365. It has to be politicians, city council members, county commissioners, state reps, state senators, holding town halls, and doing what I say. You got to educate, enlighten, and inform people about the issues and what's going on, because you got to connect the dots. And we can't assume that people know what's going on, and you're not going to learn this stuff just by running a television commercial or a radio spot.
No, you can't win Florida that way. And I have been very consistent on that for many years, that you have got a lot of these consultants, both at the state and national level, that tell our candidates to spend a lot of money, to raise a lot of money, and then hold the money for the TV commercials at the end. That is not how you're ever going to win the hearts and the minds of the people. You got to be showing up. You got to be listening, and you got to find real solutions to their everyday problems. People are so angry at both sides of the aisle for just talking to talk and not finding solutions to their problems. We have to make sure that not only are we addressing the problems that people are facing, but showing why Democrats are in this position to help them, whether it's after school programs or it's lunch programs, both universal lunch, universal breakfast, it's small business loans, it's investing in communities, investing in people, coming up with new ideas. The New Deal was 50 plus years ago. Maybe there's a conversation that we need to have new policies to help people and lift people up and give them those opportunities for the American dream. Most people in our country, especially here in the state of Florida, can't even contemplate buying a home. I mean, you've got to be so far along in your career to be able to afford homes. And we're pricing out our seniors. We are pricing out those who are just graduating from high school, young families, and we're doing nothing to make sure that the people who are the fuel and the engine of our state, our economy, have the resources to have a good quality way of life, and to make sure that they've got the financial resources to put food on their plates, to pay for their health care, to make sure that they can pay for their rent and their electric bills. And if they're working 2 jobs, that there's after school programs for their children. The state of Florida has completely neglected so many parts of our state. Time needs to end. Florida is so much better. And we're going to continue showing up for our communities and hopefully regain their trust.
All right, Nikki Free, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me, Roland.
All right, folks, now it's time for our Black Star Network headlines with Brittany Noble. Hey, her new show, The Breakdown, launches on Monday. It's going to be a daily noon news show, 1-hour show right here on the Black Star Network. And so here we go with headlines.
A man in North Carolina has been sentenced to 3 years for threatening diners with an AR-15 in a racist attack. 32-year-old Maurice Hopkins will spend his time in federal prison for carrying a loaded assault rifle into a Charlotte pizza restaurant. Hopkins threatened to shoot and kill 8 people because of their race. He harassed the victims at the restaurant, calling them terrorists and demanding they speak English, along with telling them to go back to their country. According to the police affidavit, some of the victims are Indian origin. Hopkins was arrested a few days after the incident and faced multiple charges until pleading guilty to 1 charge in a plea agreement with federal prosecutors. Signs detailing the lives of enslaved people who lived in the President's house in Philadelphia, a historic site operated by the National Park Service, has been removed, prompting a legal challenge from the city. When the site, once home to the Presidents George Washington and John Adams, opened in 2010, activists successfully pushed for exhibits acknowledging the enslaved Africans who lived there and labored there. Well, the U.S. Department of Interior said the displays were taken down to comply with President Trump's executive order titled Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History. In response, the city of Philadelphia filed a federal lawsuit seeking to have the signs restored. The mayor said the city's agreement with the federal government, which dates back to 2006, requires that both parties meet and confer before changes are made to that exhibit. New York taxpayers who shell out more than $200,000 for woke community groups to talk about slavery reparations, despite New Yorkers' fight to end the Civil War. The taxpayer money, it will select organizations who will collaborate with the NYC Commission on Racial Equity to develop recommendations for repair, collect truth testimony from New Yorkers, and work with researchers. The organization, CORE, says it plans to award up to 30 nonprofits, community groups, or minority and women-owned businesses more than $17,000. That totals $227,500. Well, tennis star Coco Gauff is putting her money behind HBCU student athletes. She's donated $150,000 to the United Negro College Fund to support students who play collegiate tennis at historically Black colleges and universities. Contribution builds on an initiative that she launched in 2025 when she gave $100,000 to UNCF, funding scholarships at Alabama A&M, Albany State, Clark Atlanta, Howard, Livingstone, and Tuskegee University. She says her commitment is personal, noting that her family's connection to HBCUs dates back generations. The latest donation will support the Coco Gauff Scholarship Program, helping HBCU tennis players continue their education and compete at the collegiate level. Well, the grandmother of Juneteenth, Miss Opal Lee, now has a Barbie doll. It was released as part of Mattel's Inspiring Women series. She gained national acclaim after cementing June 19th status as a federal holiday in 2021, thanks to years of advocacy, which included a 1,400-mile walk to Washington, D.C. The 99-year-old Fort Worth native has been awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom and was a Nobel Peace Prize nominee. Roland?
All right, going to a break. We come back. Let's talk about Sinners getting a record number of Oscar nominations. And, ooh, the white supremacists are mad. Big mad. We'll talk about that next. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. Succession. We're hearing that word pop up a lot these days as our country continues to fracture and divide. But did you know that idea, essentially a breaking up of the USA, has been part of the public debate since long before and long after the Civil War, right up to today? On our next show, you'll meet Richard Crichton, the author of this book, who says breaking up this great experiment called America might not be such a bad thing. That's on the next Black Table, right here on the Black Star Network.
My name is Bill Duke, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, the most nominated film of all time in Oscar history is now Sinners. They got 16 Oscar nominations for the 98th Academy Awards. Ryan Coogler's period vampire drama received the most nominations ever. The total surpassed the previous high of 14 nominations, a milestone shared by the 1950 film All About Eve, 1997's Titanic, and 2016's La La Land. The 16 nominations include actress in a supporting role, of course, makeup and hairstyling, music original score, writing original screenplay, actor in a supporting role, Delroy Lindo, casting, costume design, that's Ruth Carter, music original song, production design, film editing, sound, visual effects, cinematography, actor in a leading role in, of course, Michael B. Jordan, Best Director, Ryan Coogler, and Best Picture as well. When you talk about the nod for Best Production Design, that's Hannah Beecher. And, of course, this is her second time being nominated, and she previously won. Sinners is the highest grossing original horror film of all time, earning more than $370 million. And I must say it was just downright lovely, Michael, to watch all of the racists like Matt Walsh just melt down because of Sinners. He was just beside himself and was just upset and just... It's like when everyone pretended that Black Panther was some kind of cinematic masterpiece. Go to my iPad. Everyone knows what's going on here. Almost all of the praise is exclusively because of the Black cast and director. Easily one of the most overrated movies ever made. So that was one of the tweets he put up. Let's see here. It was another one. I was just cracking up laughing. I was like, it wasn't the greatest movie ever made, but it's much better than Sinners. He's talking about this other film. Also, it's pretty family friendly. Sorry, Matt. We don't really give a shit what white supremacists think.
Yeah, Roland, when you were talking about the white supremacist Matt Walsh, I automatically thought about the backlash that the movie Black Panther got, and Ryan Coogler directed that movie as well. It was a cinematic masterpiece. White supremacists may not have understood the movie, but once again, and Ruth Carter was the costume designer for that one and won an Oscar. So this is great news for African-American movies, directors, predominantly African-American cast. That is a different type of movie. Now, I haven't seen Sinners yet. I don't watch a lot of movies. I'm going to watch Sinners this weekend. But well, Roland, I do research. I got thousands of articles printed up here. I don't watch a lot of movies, Roland. I don't watch a lot of movies.
When does Sinners come out? When does Sinners come out, y'all? Like, damn it, January of last year? Your ass had 12 months.
Roland, I can't remember the last time. I think the last time I went to the movies was to see Black Panther 2: Wakanda Forever. Okay, I don't go to the movies a lot.
Do you need me to
I have Netflix. I have Netflix. I have Amazon Prime. I have
Sinners is now streaming.
I know. I said I'm going to watch it this weekend. Roland, I don't watch a lot of movies.
Hold up,
okay, I'm busy doing research.
That's
I'm busy
some
doing
bullshit.
research,
You ain't
Roland.
that damn busy.
Roland, I don't watch a lot of movies. Okay,
Candace busy, Matt busy, I'm busy. Your ass like,
Roland,
I'm just so busy.
Roland, I do my show. I work full time. I do research, but. I'm happy for the cast.
I got a 2-hour show. I got a network.
I'm happy for the cast.
I've been writing a book. I've been selling the other book.
Right.
I do about 30,
right.
40
I'm
speeches
working on
a
things
year.
too. I'm working on projects
all around the country, and I found time to go see. I found time to go see Sinners, to go see F1. Oh my God, I'm just something. Whatever.
What's F1? What's that? I don't know what F1 is. But anyway,
it's spoken like someone who doesn't go to movies.
I'm done with you. I'm done with you, Michael. You done?
No, wait. Well, hopefully,
Michael, you
cut into my time.
Michael, I'm done with you.
You cut into my time.
Michael,
I'm
done with you. I'm going to
hopefully,
Michael,
Sinners actually wins some of these awards.
Michael, you
like
ain't seen nothing to say it should win. So let me go to Candace.
I read the article. I'm familiar with Sinners.
Well,
you know what? It deals with African spirituality as well.
Candace, you have the floor.
Thank you. You know what? Let me just say this. Michael, part of your research is watching these movies when it comes to culture and, social currency and the arts and things of that nature. So you got to turn it on. You just have to turn it on.
Well, I did watch both Black Panther movies because I did 2 extensive presentations.
Because you probably watched them. You probably watched them 3 years later.
No. I went to the theater to watch them.
You probably watched the first Black Panther when Black Panther 2 came out, and you probably watched Black Panther 2 when
I was there for the premiere of Black Panther.
So Michael's on the 2-year delay plan. Matt, go ahead.
You know what, Michael? I'm gonna stand strong with you, brother, because I ain't seen the movie either, and it's all right.
Roland, it's just you
okay,
and me.
man. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
Let me just go ahead. Candace, you can talk more. Go ahead.
Oh my, Roland, at this point, it's just you and me. Let me just kind of explain what it means when this is why, and regardless of how you feel about the Oscars, it is nice to see that, a lot of Black folks are acknowledged. And the fact is that when we have movies and you have even great series on television, this is something that strikes a chord in the culture. And this is what helps Black people to thrive. I mean, I'm just thinking about you and your research theory, man. You got to watch these movies to understand what's going on in the culture, because the culture fuels the algorithm on social media and vice versa. And that's what this world is kind of really doing.
Trust me, I know what's going on in the culture because I predict it. But I know what's going on in the culture. However, I'm not against the movie. I'm not against Sinners. I just I don't watch horror movies. So
we don't watch
this
movies.
one.
Now we don't watch.
I don't watch horror movies.
Oh my God!
I mean, watching MSNBC is my type of horror movie. Watching Minneapolis and ICE domestic terrorists. That's a horror.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. The thing about this is, what we see a lot of times with movies is you see the white supremacists come out anytime they're mad that a movie's been adapted with a Black character or whatever, right? But in terms of meritocracy, this is proof positive of kind of what we're seeing across the country, that Black is per se less than, right? Because it's not a Black adaptation of a movie. It's a movie that has a lot of Black people in it. And Matt Walsh and his ilk automatically think that it cannot be qualified to break the records. I'm sorry?
And it's an original. This
is an
original.
Precisely.
This is
precisely right.
Like, this not even based on a book. This is all coming out of
Precisely.
Ryan Coogler's mind, and I thought it was amazing. And again, what out of all the people nominated, I am absolutely ecstatic about Delroy Lindo. First of all, let's be real clear. Delroy Lindo absolutely should have been nominated for Malcolm X. I mean, West Indian Archie was insane.
Right.
The Five Bloods should have been nominated in that Spike Lee movie as well. This is what this morning he was on Good Morning America, and this is how he responded and reacted. This is just awesome.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Oh my gosh, what a joy. Congratulations.
Congrats.
Hello. Such a pleasure. Oh my gosh, such a pleasure. I have to tell you, yesterday when we had the announcements happening live on Good Morning America and your name was called out, it got the hugest
response.
Yes,
Yeah.
just people were so thrilled for you.
Online, everybody's showing you all this love. And after 5 decades of acting, what is this like for you?
Now listen, when everybody says 5 decades, I started when I was 4.
Yes, we knew that.
Let's just be really clear about it.
But what does it feel like today?
It feels terrific. I mean, I'm still processing, if I'm really honest,
Yeah.
but it's wonderful. And part of my response has to do with how positive everybody else's response has been. A lot of support, a lot of love. It feels really good.
That has to feel so good. And Deborah was just saying you were in bed when you learned. So did you just jump out of bed? And
No. My son called me. I was in bed. I was kind of halfway between being asleep and waking. And the phone rang, and I picked it up, and my son was on the other line. And it's perfect that I got the news from him.
Yeah. Well, how did he tell you?
I can't say it on the air.
But so many people, I'm sure you've heard of Diane Warren. She's an incredible artist who has been nominated so many times. She had like a party waiting for it. You chose not to do that. Was it on your mind, wondering if it would happen, or how did you prepare?
Yes. It's difficult to ignore. I was trying to maintain a certain distance because I was not sure of what would happen, obviously. And so, yeah, it's difficult to not have it on your mind, but I was trying as much as I could to just let it be what it was going to be.
Yeah. So 16 nominations, record-breaking for this film that has
Phenomenal.
just been received with such love. People are just can't stop talking about it. I was wondering if you have had a chance to talk to the director, the creator.
I spoke with Ryan yesterday.
You did?
I did. I spoke with some of my castmates, but Ryan and I had a long talk, and in true Ryan fashion, he just wanted to talk about me.
Oh, wow.
And I don't have the words to articulate how thrilled I am for him. Because from the very first time I read the script, I saw what he was trying to do, and it's extraordinary that audiences have embraced it and embraced his vision.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you about, because it's not obvious. I would imagine when you first read the script that it would get the kind of reaction.
No, I had no idea. I had no idea. I knew it was very, very special. I knew it was a very particular project, but I had no idea it would get this kind of response.
Thank you.
1985. Color Purple got a whole bunch of nominations.
Uh-oh, here we go.
And that I'm just stating. And there were a lot of black folks who sitting there watching and waiting, and their name didn't get called one time. So I'm just
that's why I said I hope they win.
I'm just reminding people. Michael, have you seen The Color Purple?
Unfortunately, yes.
I'm just checking.
Unfortunately, yes.
Matt, have you have you gotten around to The Color Purple?
I have, but I wasn't alive in 1985, so I don't remember any of those.
I'm sorry. So for those of you who were not born yet, The Color Purple got a number of nominations, and Best Picture, Best Supporting, all that sort of stuff, and no trophies. And I remember the next day going to school, man, Negroes were hot the next day. Matter of fact, I don't think that, I probably, the most pissed off I think black people were since that happened to Color Purple, had to be during COVID when they played up the Best Actor category, and they saved it for last, and people thought it was going to be a posthumous Oscar for Chadwick Boseman. And what's his name won? Who played Clarice? Anthony Hopkins. Anthony Hopkins. He won, and then Anthony Hopkins wasn't
even there.
Anthony Hopkins wasn't even there. I think he was in Ireland. And then when he dropped his video, he even referenced Chadwick in it. But people were pissed off like, your ass made us sit here for 3.5 hours to watch this bullshit, and you say that for black folks were cussing. So I'm just trying to let y'all know. 16 now, it's a good. You get 16, you gonna win something. But
hopefully. Yeah.
But I'm just letting y'all know, things ain't guaranteed when it comes to the Oscar, because they can talk all that stuff you want to, but most of them Oscar voters are still some old white folk. Just letting y'all know, brace yourself.
And now I have a recommendation for Michael, because since he's not a TV watcher, whatever, and since Delroy Lindo, we'll keep on track with that. Go ahead and check out The Good Fight. It's a TV series which he leads.
Damn.
It is very good. If you want to celebrate Delroy a little more, if you don't want to, do the whole Sinners thing, go ahead and watch that.
Well, I'm going to watch Sinners.
Fantastic. Okay.
I'm going to watch Sinners. I don't watch a lot of scripted
first
TV
of all, the
series. I watch Godfather of Harlem.
Oh, my God.
I watch Godfather of Harlem. That's my favorite one because one of my teachers, Professor James Small, whose picture you see behind me, he's the historical consultant for the show, and I knew Bumpy Johnson's grandson.
Okay, all
one
right,
of his grandsons. So that's one of my favorite TV shows. Godfather.
Yeah, well, thank goodness at least you own a TV.
But
yeah,
bro.
At least you own a TV.
I have two
and
TVs,
featuring the show
Roland.
about the drug trade, but that's all right. But go ahead.
I'm just busy doing research. So, but I want to watch Sinners. My girlfriend just sent me a text message. She said we're gonna watch Sinners together. So I'm gonna watch Sinners. I may do a lecture on it, but just see. So Roland thought I was lying when I was talking about doing research, right? So for my 2 lectures on Black Panther, these are 2 of the books that I read.
Okay.
To actually do research, I did 3 months of research on the first Black Panther movie.
Wow, you read a comic book.
To be able to do lecture. No. This deals with No. This deals with the 52-year history of the Black Panther comic.
Wow.
This is called The Ultimate Guide, Black Panther from Marvel.
Michael, stop it. Now, we know Matt ain't read all of it. He got all them damn law books behind him. So it ain't like you the only one sitting here doing some damn research. I mean, him and Candace got cases.
About to be able to,
oh, my God.
I'm talking about to be able to do lectures on the Black Panther film that comes from the comic books.
My whole life, I'm busy doing research. I'm just doing research.
I am.
And more research.
Now, you have me so curious. As someone who I know you have seen Good Times and Jeffersons and all of that growing up.
You ain't seen all those.
I'm assuming you have. But when did you stop?
I met Esther Roll, actually.
TV
She was a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated.
You know what?
I met Esther Roll.
Put a bookmark on one second.
Okay, all right. So let me go ahead and play this here. So for Ryan Coogler, for Delroy Lindo, and everybody with Sinners, in case they don't do right, just remember what Denzel told Jamie Foxx.
Let me tell you a Sean Connery story. He was up for The Untouchables. I was up that year for, I think it was Cry of Freedom. He comes out to present an award and got a 3-minute standing ovation for presenting an award.
Wow.
I went to get the coats. I was going to get the coats because I know I ain't winning tonight. So now we're leaving. I'm leaving without the Oscar, right? But as I'm leaving, I see the back of where they're doing getting the meal ready, the food ready for the governor's ball. I see a big tray. I'm like, I'm leaving here with something. You know what I mean? I'm from around the way.
So, I'm sure there's going to be. So here's what I know. At least we know what's going to happen. The Beyonce Jay-Z after party going to be insane. So Sinners going to have a great time later. So I'm just saying. So let's just make sure nobody gets slapped. Let's make sure. Let's make sure that happens.
Right.
And so it's going to be real interesting seeing. All right, y'all. Hey, I need everybody to be safe this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Now, probably the only person on this panel who is good, Matt, his ass way the hell down in South Texas. Trust me, ain't getting no ice down in Corpus Christi.
Nope.
Yeah, matter of fact, let me see what the temperature is going. I don't even know why Matt ass got a jacket on. Cause he know damn well.
I like what it says. I like it says Howard.
You know why?
H-U.
You know
and
why?
then-
Wait, stop. Wait a minute. Hold on. Drop the lower third. Matt actually is wearing Howard gear. I mean, I need everybody watching to do a screenshot. See, right now, it's 69 degrees in Corpus Christi. What the feel like? The feel like is 66. Y'all, take a screenshot, because Matt came on here in an orange-ass suit. Matt reps that little school in Austin, and so to see him in a Howard, this is where he actually went to school. His mom and daddy went to the other school. You
know what I love about this?
You act like You act like Ricky Smiley. Ricky Smiley went to Alabama A&M, and Ricky Smiley screamed, University of Alabama Roll Tide all day. Then I had to remember Alabama ain't got no pro teams.
All I'm gonna say is
the University of Alabama. The University of Alabama, that's the state's pro team. So I told Ricky, why I never seen you in the Alabama A&M paraphernalia? Nothing. He always representing University of Alabama. So that's how that goes. So there we go. So Matt,
all I'm gonna say,
we appreciate.
All I'm gonna say, Paul Goodlow came on this show and called A&M a farm school.
And guess what? And
I'm not the only one. You out there with the hogs and the dogs.
Let me explain something to you. Okay? Guess what? We got the best vet school in the nation. We ain't got a problem with that. See, we have no problem knowing who we are. Y'all at Concrete U. And let me be real clear. Y'all little animals, y'all send down to A&M. We ain't got a problem having a vet school and a business school and a law school and all kind of different stuff. Oh, by the way, we do know who is the largest university in Texas. Not yours.
Y'all also just bought a law school. Wait, let's get this right. Y'all bought a law school.
No, here's no deal. First of all, excuse me, big bank, take little bank. Sorry? Excuse me?
Well,
excuse me?
I don't know.
Excuse me?
I don't know. Howard's had a law school for, 100+ years.
Yeah, and so, okay.
I mean, y'all bought a law school.
And hey, guess what?
So,
those things happen. Those things happen.
Yeah.
So it's all good.
And I love that you made my point for me by leading with the countryest thing you can say. We got a great vet school.
No. First of all, when you criticize by saying farm, I'm acknowledging the fact that we have an amazing vet school, leading researcher in the country, one of the top vet schools in the world. So don't hate, congratulate. I might let you celebrate. As a matter of fact, when your bison gets sick, send them down to A&M. We'll fix it.
Hey, control room, can you make it where my microphone can
that
compete
can't happen.
with his? Because he be talking and I can't get no words.
That can't happen because you don't pay him.
I hear that.
If anybody in that control room do any adjustment to my microphone, their ass ain't showing up on Monday.
Hey, y'all call me if y'all having any employment cases. You know what I'm saying? If it's a hostile work environment.
You can try that.
It ain't fair. I can't really talk.
Hold on. You can try that, but guess what? You ain't licensed to practice here.
How do you know that?
Because I do.
You don't know how reciprocity work?
First of all,
you don't know what pro hoc is?
You know doggone well.
Somebody tell Roland about pro hoc vice. Why don't you tell him about that, Ken?
That don't work because I've had numerous conversations with attorneys who could not practice here. Nice try, but you can't.
I don't know.
It's
pro
all
hoc,
good.
baby, it happens all the time.
Guess what? You can try all you want to. All I'm saying is touch that microphone, see what happens.
I don't know, y'all. That sounds like a threat to me.
See what happens. No.
Talk to
You
HR.
the one begging. Ain't nobody gonna move it. Like, you ain't messing up my check. They like, Matt, you ain't all that. They said, Matt.
King Petty, it's time for us to go home, man. Just get off the mic already.
They said, Matt, your cash app balance ain't that big. Anything else you want to say?
I don't know. You don't know what I got in my pockets. You know,
Matt, first of all,
anytime y'all ready, go ahead and make these mics.
You should not talk about microphone because you just learned how to turn yours back on.
You came back from a segment a minute ago and you were muted.
Yeah, I was muted because, see, I talk doing somebody else is talking during a break. That's what I do. And so you turn the microphone off, so therefore you don't have any bleed over. That's what we do. So that's how this works.
Yeah, we heard your Matthew McConaughey on break.
Hold up. I'm gonna show y'all something how this works. I'm gonna show y'all how this works. Steven, turn off Matt Mike.
Uh-oh.
Matt, keep talking. Steven, turn Matt microphone back on.
Well, it's been fun, y'all.
Steven, turn Matt mic back off. Steven, turn Matt microphone back on.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, all right.
Now, who's your daddy?
Not your ass. For sure.
Now, who's your daddy? Hey, in the words of Mel Brooks from The History of the World, Part 1, it's good to be the king. All right, we got to go. Let me thank Candace. Michael, your ass can't come back till you go watch Sinners. And Matt, you can't come back. Your both of your black cars are in probationary status. It's in right. Y'all tell y'all. See, so y'all got to. If you come back next week, I need to see a screenshot of you watching Sinners, and then there's going to be a Sinners quiz on the show next week, just to make sure that y'all are here. So let's make sure Candace is back next Friday, and we gonna quiz. Candace and I are going to quiz Matt and Michael about Sinners. There'll be 5 questions, and to make sure. Otherwise, you Negroes' black card will be rescinded. Just letting you know. All right, there we go. And y'all, Matt shaking his head, but his microphone is still on. He can talk, but if he get froggy, it's gonna get cut. All right, let me thank Candace, let me thank Michael, and then let me thank the Bison, Matt, for being on the show. All right, folks, if y'all want to support the work that we do, join our Bring the Funk fan club. Y'all know how to reach us. If you want to give to us via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. Also, use for credit cards. Checks and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037 0196. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to get our Roland Martin Unfiltered swag by going to shopblackstarnetwork.com. T-shirts, hoodies, you name it, we got it. Also, support all these black-owned products, Randy Brown's Truthing cards, as well as the candles and all kind of other stuff. You see it right here. All black-owned products. We should buy those products from our shop. You also support us, shopblackstarnetwork.com. Fan base, almost finished raising the $17 million, less than 100 grand. Go to startengine.com/fanbase. And you can also, of course, download the app. And folks, y'all stick around. You do not want to miss this here. Today, 50 years ago, Paul Robeson, a great American. Actually, before I'm going to go there in a second. Tomorrow, go ahead and show that. Here at the Black Star Network, we're going to be live streaming the funeral services of Claudette Colvin, taking place in Birmingham. That's going to be at 12 noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central. We also will be live streaming the homegoing service for Richard Smallwood, taking place at First Baptist Church of Glenarden. That's going to be taking place at noon Eastern as well. So we'll be live streaming both of those. Now, 1976 on this day, Paul Robeson passed away. He was an unbelievable American. Too many of us do not talk about him enough. Howard Bryant, the sports journalist, has written an amazing book called Kings and Pawns, Jackie Robinson and Paul Robeson in America. Robinson talks about Robinson testifying against Robeson before the House Un-American Committee in 1949. Robeson testified years later. It is an unbelievable book, and if you want a different perspective on Major League Baseball and Branch Rickey and breaking the color barrier, you want to listen to this conversation. The book is called Kings and Pawns. So we're going to roll the names of all our donors, and then we're going to go right to this interview here, y'all. It's a fascinating conversation. You don't want to miss it. I'll see y'all on Monday, right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Holla!